What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expedia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expedia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expediausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expedia Interaction Marketing Group and the call center geek himself, Tom Laird.
Welcome back, everybody, to Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center operations podcast where we try to give you actionable items that you can take back to your contact center to make instant improvements to the quality, to your agent, to the engagement, to the whole center as a whole. My name is Tom Laird. I'm the CEO of Expedia Interaction Marketing. We are a 500-seat call center outsourcer located here in northwestern Pennsylvania. How's everybody doing? Oh, 1 week, kind of into it, almost 2 weeks now into back to work from my vacation, into the groove. Pretty excited about this podcast that we're going to do today. Before we get into what we're going to talk about, I just want to, throw out. I sent a quick kind of note podcast or like a little, I don't want to say emergency podcast, but last week talking about the new book that we have coming out. So it's supposed to be out yesterday, which is Tuesday. It's going to take us one more day to get everything ready, to get all that editing, get the cover art totally done. So it's going to go out tomorrow or Friday at the most, but it's going out this week. So if you've read Advice from a Call Center Geek, we are coming out with a new version. It's called More Advice from a Call Center Geek. We've basically taken the book, given it kind of version 2. We've added 60 to 70 pages to it. What we're going to do is we're going to try to offer this. Well, we're going to offer this, the digital version, kind of the Kindle version, for free for the first 3 days. So anybody that's already bought the first book, I didn't want to have you purchase the second one. So if you go to moregeek.callcentergeek.com, just give me your first name and your email address. I'm not going to use it for anything other than on when we launch Thursday or Friday, I'll send you a link that you can go on to Amazon and download that book for free. I'm going to make the paperback as cheap as I possibly can. So Amazon has a cost to print out each book. It's normally $3 or $4. So I'm going to just charge cost. It'd be like $3 or $4 to get the paperback version. Not going to make any money off of it. Just like to try to get that out to as many as the fans of the podcast as possible. The official birthday of the book is Thursday. So we were going to do that on Tuesday, but at least we'll wait until the official 1 year anniversary of us doing the book, which kind of kicked off the podcast and has kind of got this ball rolling. All right. So again, real quick, moregeek.callcentergeek.com if you're interested in the new book. Today's podcast is going to be a little different. So we've focused on operational tactics, and we focused on technology and leadership and things that you can do in your call center to really make some instant improvements, hopefully. And I've gotten so much awesome feedback from a lot of you who have taken some of these things to heart, which really makes me feel great that you guys are finding some value in this. But I want to tell you a story. So this is a true story about me starting off as a call center supervisor. And it's kind of, I think, the foundational story of who I became as a contact center, a leadership, and obviously now owning a contact center, an outsourcer, and having all different departments all report to me. So this is, again, a foundational story that I think is really cool for all of you out there that are brand new supervisors, maybe a couple years on the job, and also those of you who are, call center executives or call center managers that have supervisors that are under you. I think you can relate to a lot of the pieces of the story. So again, I'm going to take you back to the year probably 2002, 2003. This is the first call center after I was a supervisor, right? I became a supervisor, and then I moved up to what we called at the time was the AM production coordinator. So let me tell you this little story. And being a young pretty naive new manager. I had a type A personality. I was put in charge of a lot of people, and that could have been my, mid-20s. Could have been a recipe for disaster, right? Especially in call center management when everybody's so close. But I had progressed my way up through the call center ranks of being an associate, being on the phones, inbound, outbound, doing some stints in IT. Always liked the people piece of this more, so I moved my way out onto the floor. So I progressed my way up the call center that I was working at to, as I talked about, to be that AM production coordinator. So that meant I was in charge of about 15 supervisors and about 150 to 175 agents that reported me. And my duties were to make sure that the AM shift met all of its, we said, the qualitative and quantitative goals for both the clients that we worked for. So my job was to basically hit the numbers, no matter what program we were doing, for the AM. So not soon after taking my position, my shift, so this AM shift, which has always outperformed the PM, we started to fall back, right? We started to struggle. Our numbers weren't as good. The quality scores were dropping. I was having more and more issues on the floor with associates. And so, we were becoming less profitable, and there was more headaches. The turnover was going up a little bit. So I got kind of the summons, right? I got brought up to my bosses, who was in charge of all production for the contact center. And so one morning, I got called up to her office, and we had to talk about what was going on. I told her I was doing everything right? When someone had a bad monitoring score, I made sure that instantly they were written up. If they were down in sales, they were put on corrective action. There was no one on that floor that, didn't have some type of corrective action, or we were talking about, some of the things that they were doing wrong. And, the thing that kind of stuck with me is she didn't really care about that. And all she said to me was, "Do the people on the floor trust you?" I said, "Absolutely." There's no doubt in my mind that my proactive management style, that I was trusted by everyone, right? She asked me to define what trust was. And of course, being that 20-year-old kind of naive manager, I said, trust means you don't lie to people, right? You're honest and trustworthy. And that's what I am with all the reps. I'm giving them honest feedback for all their, all the things that they're doing wrong to try to help them. And she was super kind. She never yelled at me. She said, yes, that was part of it, but it's a very, very small part. And she told me that over the years, and so again, this isn't my equation, but I use it in every single consulting gig that I get. I use it in my call center. My supervisors can repeat this like it's the back of their hand. It's as important as for the management team as the attitude and effort culture that we talk about. But she said that trust equals character plus competence, and in the call center world, plus motivation. So the trust equation is trust equals character plus competence plus motivation. She told me, really this wasn't the end all be all to fix all the issues in the center, but a guideline for constant management growth. When you're trusted as a manager, you can get people to do amazing things. But more importantly, and especially in the call center world, you can get people to do the routine jobs exceptionally well, right? If they trust the supervisor, if they trust what's being told to them, if they trust what the end outcomes are going to be. So really, this made me think. She told me there was another word that I needed to figure out myself that I could substitute for trust. And this word really is the pinnacle that any management person would want to hear from the people that are working for them, for their associates in the call center world. It really describes you at the highest point of what you can be in business. She told me to let her know when I figured out what that word was. And what could I kind of use this whole equation, this trust equals character plus competence to motivation. There's a kind of an end result with that. And what was it? So I did think about that, right? And maybe that, I don't want to say makes me a little bit different, but when I get things like this that I know can improve myself, can improve what I'm doing, I obsess. So, over the years, I've come to kind of really think about this management equation. And so this is kind of how I have it broken down. And we'll get to what that word is, and maybe you can kind of figure it out as we go here. But, we talk about trust equals character, and really there's so much that entails this, that character is really a lifelong progression, really with no true ending point. It starts when you're really young in a management position with the basics of making sure that, one, you're there on time, you're dressed appropriately, you care about the job you do, you look the right part. I don't know, I'm old school. So many people in the call center now, and the millennials in the call center, just you can come to work in jeans and your hair's messy and you just woke up and you got a sweatshirt on. I don't know, maybe that works in some centers. I don't think that, again, that's not a true definition of character, but I think, when it goes into it, it's what type of person do you want to be? And when you're kind of showing up the right way, I think that tells a lot of the type of person you are. It's how you perform on the floor from an objective standpoint of how people are viewing you, right? It's not backstabbing people. It's more than that. It's not using bad language. It's not lying. It's all those types of things that develop your work character, which can be different than your outside character. But it's knowing that somebody can really depend upon you to do the right thing, whether that's the rep or whether that is a management person. That's kind of what entails, I think, the call center character of a supervisor or a management person. The second piece of this equation is competence, and being competent in your job is vital. So many managers equate competence to knowing more than everyone, right? They think about that they need to be the smartest person in the room. In fact, it's probably opposite of that. The truest form of competence is the ability to make more good decisions than bad ones, right? It's not knowing everything, because you're not going to know everything, but you make better decisions because you're competent in what you think and what you know that outcome's going to be. So, and how you do that, it's putting the time and effort in, listening to your team, taking suggestions, putting together the best answers to a solution, bringing different answers to the management team. When I first started with my type of personality, I felt threatened when someone else had an idea. Do you feel threatened? Right? If you do, back up, relax. Take what everyone is saying and mold it into what you think is the appropriate action. Because a lot of times, especially the reps who are living, eating, breathing this on the front lines, they have some really good ideas. So the last piece of this is motivation, right? So to be trusted, you have to be motivated. Now, I get that not everybody's personality is to rah, high five and, run and give chest bumps, and that's okay. But all this really means is that you need to be positive in dealing with people. You need to be more of a positive influence than a negative one, that you are going to add energy to your team. You are going to add energy to the room. You're not going to take energy, right? There's that book, The Energy Bus, where we talk about the two dogs, right? And positive dog on your shoulder and there's a negative dog on your shoulder, and they're both fighting for your attention. And, the one that wins is the one that you feed, right? So if you're feeding positive vibes, positive energy, that's the dog that kind of jumps off your shoulder and actually jumps and goes and helps other people as well. So, making sure that you are the one that is adding to the energy of the room, not taking away from it. So that doesn't mean that you're not giving corrective actions, right? And we've talked about how to coach and the proper ways to coach, and it's not beating somebody up, but to making sure that we're getting across to them with them not getting defensive. So you can't take really anything personal. You have to make sure that you're doing it the right way. But the overall motivational standpoint that I'm kind of defining this as, that I've seen, is to have that positive mental attitude when you're out on the floor at all times. And that shows the motivation that you have to get things done in the right way. So, we talked about this again. So trust from a management standpoint, especially in the call center, if you have the proper character, right? If you're looking the part, if the reps know that they know you're not going to lie to them, that they know that the things that you say are real, that you're trying to help them, and they feel that you're competent in your job, right? You're making really good decisions. You're making good decisions that are not only benefiting the company, but helping the reps get to a different level in their job. And you're motivated, right? You're a positive person. People gravitate towards you. There's a lot of things out there that you're helping push to drive forward. If you have those things, right, then we get to what that darn word is that we were talking about. And I don't know if any of you can kind of figure it out, but it's taken me some years to kind of reflect upon. It took me a couple weeks to realize what that word was when I was, initially given the trust equation for my from my mentor, my boss. Embarrasses me to say it took as long as it did. It probably should have come right away once I really thought about it all. But I think it shows how far off track I was back in the day with how my management style was compared to what it is today and what it should be. But after a couple weeks, I knocked on her door. I didn't walk in. I just poked my head in, and I just said one word to her, and that word was respect. She smiled and said, "That's the word." And that's call center management. That word sums up everything that you do. So when we build our management trainee program, when we build our culture of attitude and effort, that word of respect and trust is kind of at our hierarchy, and we bridge from there. And we say, how do we get to that level where all of our reps are trusting and respecting our supervisors? Because that's where the true power lies. True power doesn't lie in a supervisor that knows everything, that's bossy, that corrects everybody for every little thing that they do. True power lies in the supervisor that is respected, that is trusted because they are competent in their job. They have high character, and they're super positive and super motivated. That is our pillar as well of our management trainee program, to get those three aspects of it tied into that trust/respect factor. So I learned a lot from this. This is the bedrock of where I've really built everything from this story and this kind of mentoring experience that happened to me when I was in my early 20s. And it's something that I use now with, again, we talked about with all the supervisors, but if someone is having a rough time, if someone is on the floor and they're just not performing like they should, there's issues on their team, that's the question that I ask when they come into my office and we sit down and they say, "I'm doing everything right." And I say, "Do your reps trust you?" And we go through this kind of process, because it can't be just a told process. It's got to be a taught process, and they got to kind of figure some of these things out on their own. And they do, as long as you're guiding them down that road, just like I was guided. So a little bit of a different podcast. I hope that that's helpful. I think it's a really cool call center parable that can be used really in any type of aspect of management and in management mentoring or engagement. So again, thank you guys for allowing me to kind of talk about that. It's been a pretty cool story that I've been meaning to tell for a couple weeks, and finally got some time to kind of put it all back down and talk about it. So again, thank you guys. Again, be ready for the book, moregeek.callcentergeek.com. I'd love for you guys to post some reviews up on the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that you can, but especially on iTunes. Please take a moment. Please not only just click a 4 or 5, but hopefully a 4 or 5, but actually post some reviews that talk about if this has added value to what you've seen and brought back to your call center, or if there's certain things that you'd like to see better with the podcast as well. Again, thank you guys very much. I will talk to you next week. Hopefully you get the book. We'll talk about that a little bit more next Tuesday, Wednesday as well. Thanks, guys.